Hi everyone. I just wanted to show a demo today from a talk that I gave at ngAtlanta this last January. The demo at the talk did not get recorded, so I just wanted to make sure that anybody who is watching the video from home has the opportunity to see it. The talk is called Wrapping It Up with Decorators, and I will put a link in the description. And basically, it's about TypeScript decorators, especially in the context of Angular. The project that I'm showing you is available on StackBlitz, and a link will be in the video description as well. So what I want to show you guys today is how to create a simple method decorator that can be attached to methods that retrieve data from a remote data source. And instead, it's going to return an error. And what this allows me to do is to make sure that my component logic is going to handle that error as gracefully as possible. So in this demo, all we're going to do is display a message to the user so that at least they know that they weren't able to retrieve the data, that something is wrong. So in this project, I just have one component, my app component, and we have a couple properties that we've set up here and one dependency. My dependency is my city service, and the properties are my cities observable, and this just takes the returned value from get cities, which is an observable with a value of an array of strings. And then the other property that I have here is my error message. And what this is going to do is hold an error message and conditionally show it. If it's populated with anything, it's going to show up in my template. If we take a look at my app component template, I have a a list here. And in this list, I am subscribing to my cities observable using the async pipe. And then once I have that data, I'm just looping over that array of strings that represents my cities here and writing them to the list. And if there's anything in that error message property, it will show the error on the screen there. So that's not, there's no logic to actually populate that property yet, but we will add that in a little bit. The other piece that we want to take a look here at is the city service. The city service is very simple. It just has one method in it, get cities, and it returns an observable of an array of strings. And I'm just using the of operator to create an observable and passing in my string, my array of strings directly. But you can imagine that this would work pretty much the same as if you were retrieving data from a server. So if you had something like this.http.get, and then I just passed in my URL, it works pretty much the same way. It's just holding that data in memory right now. So I'll just remove that. And one way that we could replace this with an error is if we just returned throw error, and we put an error in here. So this is a way that you could test your interface, but I think it's cleaner to create a component because you can wrap everything up in that component, all that logic to create an error, and um, and you don't have to comment out your regular code, because if you're anything like me, you'll just forget that you commented this and that out, and then you'll commit it and it'll be a huge mess. So we don't want that. We'll just wrap everything up in a decorator. So the first decorator that I want to show you here is the simplest form of the decorator. And the thing that we want to decorate here is a method. So when we're creating a method decorator, you can see I'm just exporting a function, and the function has a particular signature. So in the case of a method decorator, the function will take 3 arguments. The first one is the target. And in this case, the target is our city service. So this is the object or the class that we are decorating, or that the method belongs to. And then the name is the name of our method. So within the city service, we have the getCities method, and that's going to be in the form of a string. And the final argument is the property descriptor, and that's an object that has a number of properties that describe our method. And if you want to know more about that, I definitely recommend checking out the talk that I gave. I talk a little bit about property descriptors there. So it's just a function. It takes these three arguments. First thing that we're going to do here is we're going to log to the console all of these things so that we can take a look at what they actually look like in action. And then we are returning a new object, and we're copying over all of the property descriptor properties using object destructuring. And then we're going to replace the value property with a function that is going to return a observable wrapped error. And we're just hard coding an error message in here. So if we go into our city service, let's go ahead and apply this decorator. So we'll uncomment that. And to apply this decorator, we use this syntax. We have an @ symbol, and then we name our decorator. So we have fake error. And we can see now that even though we have the logic that we started out with, inside of our method, when we attach our decorator, we're no longer receiving the data in here. And if we open up our console, we can see all these things that we are logging out. So the first thing that we passed in was our target, and that is an object that represents the object that got created in our city service. So that is our city service. And the second argument is the method name, and that's just a string that says getCities. And the final piece in here is an object with our property descriptor. It has configurable, enumerable, writable, and the value. So we can see also that the error got logged here. Bah is our is our hard-coded string. And now that our decorator has been applied, we can go into our app component and sort of fortify this this component so that it can deal with this error. So I'm just going to do that by attaching a pipe to my observable so that I can attach a side effect that says if we receive the data that we expect, then we don't want our error message to be populated with anything. But if we receive instead an error, then we want to write that error to our error message. So we'll use the tap operator in RxJS to create a side effect here. And we'll pass in two functions. The first one is our success. If we get data, then we're going to say this.error message equals undefined, because we don't want to show anything if we have our data. And the second thing that we're going to pass in here is if we get an error, then we want that error message to be populated. And we can see now that we are showing our error message right on the screen here. So this is the functionality that we were trying to achieve. Just pop that over. So this is basically what we were trying to do here. I'm going to show you one more variation, and this is a slightly more complicated variation. All we want to do here is pass in a parameter. So you can customize your decorators by passing in parameters at the end here. So say we want to say like, this is my custom message. We can totally do this. We just need to restructure a little bit. So I'll comment that out. We'll put in our regular decorator, fake error. And if we go into the second version that I have here, this is our slightly restructured decorator, and this one is structured like a decorator factory. And what a decorator factory does is it returns the expression that is going to be called by the decorator at runtime. And what this allows you to do is in your function definition here, you can add in any parameters that you wanted to pass in to your decorator. So here I want to pass in a custom message that I'm going to display over here. And so I put it right in the top here where we originally were passing in the target and the name and the descriptor. And then I am returning the function with the signature that our original decorator had. It's an anonymous function, and it has the same signature with the target, name, and descriptor. And everything else about this decorator is the same, except that I am passing my message into that throw error. And that is going to allow me to display that custom message. So let's go ahead and replace, if we reference our second decorator here and then replace, you can see now that TypeScript is complaining about you not passing any parameters in. So let's comment that out and uncomment our correct implementation. And now you can see this is my custom message is displaying to the screen here. So that's how you create a very basic error decorator. I hope this was useful.